Randy. John Nealon, if it's your name, who you represent for the record, you can begin your testimony.
My name is John Nealon. I'm here on behalf of Cal Day, at least I was initially. However, listening to the testimony earlier today and knowing what Dr. Day has gone through, I'm really here as a taxpayer, a voter, a Texan, and an American. I think what has happened to him without due process is inexcusable, and no one involved in it should be excused. I was fully aware of the allegations against him when they were made public. I resent that the government is telling me I'm not smart enough to make my own decision about who I want to go see for my health care. Once a trial has happened, convicted, not convicted, whatever, let the justice system take its course. But I'm offended that I've got the government telling me what I can and can't do with my own body. I have had several skin cancers removed from my face. I can see 2 scars on my face. They are both from dermatologists not named Dr. Cal Day. I can't even remember which ones he removed off my face because there's no scars, because he took such great care of me. So what I would like to see is, I would like to see the people that are on this board provide due process to anybody who has an accusation against them. If there's an appeal to be made, I do not think the same people that made the initial decision should listen to the appeal. I think there should be a new independent board for that. And I think he should be given more than 10 days to gather his own evidence to support his case. And I certainly don't think he should be notified by fax. And I don't think he should be forced to leave people with open wounds on the operating table. Thank you very much for your time.
Commissioner Nealon, I'll say that was fantastic testimony. You talked to us, you laid out 7 very clear things that this commission should look at, and you did it without reading, so I appreciate it very much. Your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you very much, members of the board, and I appreciate you giving us this time. After hearing everything, this has been an education for me, watching all this over, and I more than appreciate everything you guys do. And Colonel West, huge fan. I really, everything that I have planned to say,
Huge fan.
sorry, I am. Just deadly honest, sorry about that, guys. I had a prepared statement, everything written out, what I was going to say, and this has been an absolute education, like I said. All that I can tell you is that I witnessed the utter dismantling of a 28-year career, the unemployment of 28 plus employees, and the displacement of over 14,000 patients, all in the time it took for a 20-page fax to be received on a fax machine. The autocratic disregard that I have, and I'm just witnessing here, just what I've gathered today, watching you deal with the Texas Medical Board, terrifies me. How on God's green earth did a board gain such control? How on the planet did we allow this to happen? This is no longer just simply me conferring for Dr. Day. This is me. I'm a citizen of Texas. I vote, I pay taxes, and I'm terrified. I didn't know any of this until I sat in here way too many dang hours ago. And you guys have been here the whole time in here, so y'all need a break.
You're welcome to stay for TxDOT too, if you'd like.
You do not want to know what I'd say to those people. I live on the north side of San Antonio. We'll talk 281 later.
281 north of 600.
Oh my God. Let's get a beer and do this. Ladies and gentlemen, again, my appreciation for you is you can't even measure it after witnessing this. Nothing else I can say or that I can write down could quite transfer what I have learned today. And again, it is utter fear. They destroyed the lives of all of these individuals. These young ladies that worked their brains out for him. Single mothers, gone. Half of them, a large portion of them had to declare bankruptcy. All because one malicious individual, who has been proven to be just absolutely unfounded, decided to go after him. And the board did nothing but punish. And it seems like they do that a lot. From what I have seen, it's kind of their motive. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I was raised by a pack of lawyers, but God help me, I was able to escape. I'm absolutely terrified, and I plead with you. I plead with you elected officials, you appointed officials, do something. Do something before they gain too much control, and you may never be able to do anything. That's all I have to say.
Members, any questions for Mr. Patrick Thurman, who joins us from the congested San Antonio, Texas?
The north side.
The north side. Great. Thank you very much. That takes us to Tiffany. The next person is Paul Mayo. If you would state your name, who you represent, Mr. Mayo, you begin your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Thank you for allowing me to be here to speak. I'm representing myself and Dr. Day. I'm here because I'm very disturbed about the power that the medical board has. They can act without due process, which really surprised me. They can suspend a license when somebody's indicted before they're convicted. And that goes so against what we know in this country is what's fair and what's not fair. I was one of 14,000 patients that Dr. Day has because of his expertise in mole surgery. And I don't know if y'all know what that is. I still have a nose. Without him, I probably wouldn't have one. I'd have a plastic nose. He's a tremendous surgeon. He's a tremendous individual. And he's really been wronged by this Texas Medical Board. He had charges brought against him in San Antonio. He was indicted. Prior to the indictment, as I said, the board suspended his license. He went to trial, he had a conviction, and then that conviction was overturned because they found that the district attorney had, excuse me, I'm not as polished as a lot of your speakers, so bear with me, had conducted some items that were not proper. And so then she turns around, the district attorney files against him, so he's still without his license, even though this happened back in 2013. So she delayed the trial, and finally she was overturned again, and all charges have been dismissed against this physician. And yet he still can't get his license because now they say, okay, we're going to talk to you in July. Why? Why not now? There's 14,000 people that this man has treated, and you've heard from some of them today. There's a lot more of us. There's people who have ears because of him, have noses because of him. And we've taken just a fantastic surgeon and removed him from office, and there's just no reason for this. And I'm asking this panel to address this type of thing. It should not be allowed. They should not have this power. It's, and forgive this word, it's like a Gestapo. They have so much power, and nobody seems to be able to challenge it. They have attorneys and their staff who can just do whatever they want to. And you know what? Nobody can do anything about it. It's amazing. So I haven't even used my 3 minutes, but that's kind of from my heart. So
that is the best testimony. Just talk to us from your heart. Members, any questions for Mr. Mayo, who's from San Antonio, Texas? Thank you, Mr. Mayo, very much. And I had called Daniel E. Stout, but I'm guessing he's not here since no one's up there. Members, we've had several people under representing, they put Dr. Day, at least 15 that I can count on this one page. The chair calls Dr. Day, Donna Brown, Patrick Thurman, and I.C. Donnelly, who all represent, they're here for Dr. Day. The next four are Stephanie Turbyville, Brenda Fox, W. Clayton Brown, and Leslie Nealand, who all represent, they are here representing Dr. Day. Dr. Calvin Day, MD, Spring Branch, Texas. You can state your name, who you represent, and your 3 minutes will start, sir, when you get ready.
Okay, thank you very much for going through all this. I appreciate it. My name is Dr. Calvin Day. I'm a graduate of the Harvard Dermatology Program, and I practiced Mohs skin cancer surgery in San Antonio for 28 years and had 40,000 patients. I employed 396 women, and I carried a staff of 28 women. I had no paid malpractice claims during this entire time, and I did not have any complaints with the medical board with the exception of 2 billing complaints. My medical license was suspended without warning, without notice, by fax. And I heard Mr. Freeshore say this morning he warned physicians. I think that's baloney. My case is a roadmap of examples of the lack of due process in the medical board, as well as staff attorney misconduct because they withheld evidence at my hearing. And they're continuing in my SOA case to post defamatory statements about me instead of posting legal arguments. And it seems that there's a lack of supervision of the medical board attorneys. I mean, what prosecuting attorney in this day and time can withhold evidence and not lose her job or be sanctioned or something like that? It's just, to me, that's very poor oversight. And I've talked to 9 different attorneys who practice in this field, and they tell me that this is a pervasive type of thing within the medical board. Another due process concern is that I had the same board member at my hearing, at my informal settlement conference, and then at mediation. Now, in our judicial system, you get a ruling, you appeal to a higher court, you get a different judge. In the medical board protocol, you have the same one. Basically, there's a Dr. Margaret McNeese who blackballed me. Now, she's a pediatrician who testifies in child sex abuse cases. Mine was an allegation of sexual impropriety. I'm guilty before I even started. I mean, she should have recused herself. Then finally, the immediate stoppage of physicians' practice without notice causes tremendous public harm. No one has actually studied. They do this all the time, and no one's actually studied it. I had 28 employees who lost their job just like that. They were all women. Over half of them were the only income provider in the families, and they lost their job, and many of them are still, 5 years later, suffering economically. My patients, I had 40,000 patients over 28 years, but 14,000 who were active at the time.
Thank you, Dr. Day.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Mr. Zidler,
question.
you'll do it. Ms. T, do you have any questions for Dr. Day?
Dr. What kind of practice did you have?
I was trained as a dermatologist, and then I did a fellowship in Mohs skin cancer surgery. So I principally did high-risk skin cancers. So when my practice stopped just like that, you had delays, you had putting people at risk for metastases and death and things like that.
Now, what year was this?
This is 2011, so I'm 5 years. I'm still trying to get back. And I thought, okay, all the charges have been dropped. They're going to give me my license back. I went to mediation, and still, and now then they put my hearing off till next July. I mean, it's just, I just feel like I was railroaded.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Senator Hinojosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was listening to your testimony, and you mentioned Dr. Meade, who was a board member.
Right.
Did she testify against you at the board hearing?
She just, it seemed to me, she just, said no at the hearing, no at the IC. She didn't actually testify, but in my hearing, she did help the witnesses testify. I mean, they would say something, and then she would help them. You mean this, or you mean this? I mean, she was aiding the women who were testifying. She was helping them.
Okay, but she was not. This is at a board.
She's
hearing.
a board member, yes, okay. But she has a reputation.
Well, I guess what I'm asking was.
You can't say that.
She didn't testify against me. I wouldn't say that, but she helped the people who were. Instead of being like a judge, she was helping.
Did you have an attorney represent you before the board?
Yes, I have. Right now, I have Mr. John Porter and Tim Whites and Jeff McDonald.
And was he representing you at the board?
No, my attorney at the time was Louis Lecter and Bob Simpson.
Was he allowed to cross-examine the witness?
Yes.
Okay. Did he object to any leading questions by Dr. Meade?
He did, and also, they didn't I had medical records that were very beneficial to us, and they didn't allow the records in. And I had sent 2 of the records months before, and they said my attorney didn't turn them in on time. We said, well, you've had these records for, 2 months. I mean, you go to a hearing, and the woman is making allegations. You send the records to, you expect that the staff attorneys are going to put those records in the evidence package.
So what's the status of those criminal charges?
They've all been dismissed.
They've all been dismissed? There was no conviction?
Well, there was a conviction, but it was overturned because the district attorney threatened my attorneys in the trial. And my attorneys we had a hearing for a new trial, and they admitted they purposely lost the case.
Was there a retrial?
Well, we scheduled it. They kept putting it off, and finally we got so much information to show that the woman had perjury that they didn't go forward with it. They just dropped it.
They dismissed the charges?
They just dismissed it.
And there's no other criminal complaint?
No, not at all.
Nothing to do with your actual practice in terms of medical malpractice?
I've never had any paid claims. There were 3 claims filed, but they were all just, dropped without us ever going to trial. So I have no paid claims in 28 years.
Did they ever give you a reason why they don't want to reinstate your license?
Well, I guess the mediation is supposed to be confidential, I'm told. So my understanding is I cannot tell you what was discussed in mediation.
Okay.
But I can tell you that I was willing to always have a chaperone, which I always did anyway, and that I was agreeable to having all the patients and staff sign an informed consent document in which I would describe everything that had happened, so that way nobody would be surprised. So I was agreeable to all of that, and I still wouldn't. And I had 2 job offers, and one of the job offers.
Thank you, Donna, very much. Patrick Thurman. Order. Stephanie, you're ready. State your name and who you represent. She has the same address as Mr.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Turbyville, and I'm from San Antonio, also the congested north side. I'm representing Dr. Day today. I am here to testify how a very reckless medical board can do harm without due process. I was a nurse for Dr. Day for 3 years. Every day, we save lives of people with skin cancer. This was my dream job until the day that his license was suspended immediately without notice. I, along with 28 other employees, were left without a job. And as a single mother of 2 boys, this was just devastating to me mentally and financially, and it was very difficult to recover. And this whole act forced me into bankruptcy. In nursing school, we were taught the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. As a board that oversees all of the state of Texas medical licenses, the Texas Medical Board went completely against the Hippocratic Oath. The Texas Medical Board treated Dr. Day unfairly and without due process. And without this due process, by suspending his license without even being indicted. This action in turn resulted in harm to the patients, staff, and Dr. Day. The Texas Medical Board should not be allowed to temporarily suspend a license without probable cause hearing. To do so will ensure that the Hippocratic Oath is adhered to and the doctor and staff can properly care for the patients. Since 2011, Dr. Day still has not had his license reinstated, even though he was acquitted of all charges. And I still haven't found my dream job back. The Texas Medical Board needs to change. Temporary suspension without due process and give justice back to Dr. Day so we can practice the Hippocratic Oath again and get back to saving lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Members, any questions for Ms. Turbyville? Thank you very much. W. Clayton Brown, San Antonio, Texas. State your name and who you represent for the record.
My name is Clayton Brown. I'm with this group representing Dr. Day today. I appreciate, thank you all for this forum. I'm an early skin cancer patient. I've had skin cancer since I was about 19. Outlived a couple other dermatologists that I had before I found Dr. Day. He saved my life. I can state that without any reservations. I agree with everything. I don't want to take up any added time repeating what everyone has said about Dr. Day, but without question, it seems to me that the Texas Medical Board needs to have a higher standard for suspending a doctor's license and disrupting so many lives without any proof or due process. It just does not seem right. Someone made a statement earlier today that we wanted to make it easier for doctors to come to Texas. Well, how about keeping one that's been here for 28 years and represents some 14,000 patients? So we all thought that after the case was thrown out of court, that the Texas Medical Board would immediately apologize for taking their actions and reinstating his license so that we could have our doctor back. But that hasn't happened, and it seems like we can't understand the reason or the excuse, and we hope that with y'all's help, maybe some of these unfair tactics will be corrected.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Members, any questions for Mr. Brown? Chair sees none. Leslie Neeland, state your name and who you represent for the record, and you can begin.
I'm Leslie Neeland, and I'm representing Dr. Day and agree with what everybody else has said, but would like to add, I was a patient of Dr. Day's for over 15 years, and I'm a high-risk patient for skin cancer. I was seeing him twice a year at the time his license was suspended. I've had two dermatologists since Dr. Day, and both of them are more concerned with the cosmetic side of dermatology. They just barely look at your body, and they want to, do pretty things to you without looking at the medical side of it. So I don't feel like I'm receiving good care. I feel somewhat vulnerable because of that. I believe that Dr. Day was given the most severe punishment without any proof of guilt. And this should not be the way the world runs. As parents, we would not severely punish our children for mere suspicions. So to have his license suspended just seems pretty severe and pretty extreme, and a lot of us are at a loss without him.
Thank you, Ms. Neeland. Members, any questions for Ms. Neeland? Chair sees none. Thank you all very much. The chair calls Frank Altshuler, Dee Dee Altshuler, Linda Ortega, Ruby Tovar. On deck, Loretta Brown, Brandy Holden, and John Neeland. Members, at least 6 of these say they're here representing Dr. Day. Frank, when you're ready, give us your name and who you represent, and you can give your testimony.
Thank you. Frank Altshuler, representing myself but in support of Dr. Day. I was a patient of his for a couple of years up until his license was suspended. Like many, I came prepared to say one thing, and having heard everything, have to kind of adjust to avoid repetition. I was very surprised to hear the board's statement early on, and I guess I have to say that it seems that if the doctor had the good sense to be over-prescribing opioids, he might still be in business and have had access to proper due process and workout schemes for his patients. As it was, he had the bad luck to be accused falsely of sexual improprieties by a woman who, probably had something to gain through the process. So, I just want to make sure that that fact gets accounted for. I mean, it was news to me that they even knew what due process was, just from a patient's eye view of what all was going on. And to hear them expound on, that was shocking in the extreme because of what I'd seen happen to my physician. So that's one thing. And then separately, and, don't want to get too lost in the weeds, but the practice of medicine has suffered in another way than has been described. Yes, 14,000 people had to scramble and find other care. My biopsy, I don't think had come back, and I had to wait and find it, and yada yada yada. But the fact of the matter is that close examinations of women looking for suspicious moles and so forth, it has been less aggressive in San Antonio as a result of this. And I don't think anybody will ever know the degree to which dermatologists have backed off from proper care of their female patients for this reason. And so I just want to mention this. It has been a travesty on many levels, and the fact that he is still out of practice, continues the the ongoing tragedy. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Altshuler. Members, any questions for Mr. Altshuler, who comes to us from New Braunfels? I don't see any. Thank you, Frank, very much. Dee Altshuler, if you can state your name and who you represent for the record and begin your testimony.
My name is Clydine Dee Altshuler, and I'm from New Braunfels, and actually I live in the beautiful small town of Freeman, Texas, and I am here to speak on behalf of Dr. Calvin Day. I'm here to express to you the impact that his removal from the medical field has had on so many lives. A couple of women said he touched me inappropriately. No evidence whatsoever. The DA fudged some things. They wound up in a trial. There was a mistrial called for it. When the medical board spoke to him, the medical board faxed him a note to close his practice immediately. It was on surgery day. Nobody's mentioned he had patients laid on tables with open surgery wounds that he had to step away from. Would you have liked that to have been your wife or your husband? All of his patients are told to leave. People that had outstanding biopsies and problems. I am not only a skin cancer patient, which goes numerous times a year. I'm not a 1-2-timer a year. Sometimes I'm a 4 to 6-timer a year. And I'm also an ovarian cancer survivor. And Dr. Day was a super doctor. I got my referral, I got the recommendation from him from a friend that does research at Sloan Kettering. You need a Mohs surgeon, because I had been to 2 doctors that botched skin cancer on me and had left bad scars, and the cancer's still there, and they did not get it all. And then they would say, oh, we need to open that again. Well, it's botched. I have a huge scar on my face, and I went to Dr. Day, and he fixed it. But the thing of this is so sad, and I would like to see the board require that there is evidence to substantiate accusations before somebody's medical license is removed. And I wish you all would review the procedure on halting someone's practice in the middle of a day with patients with open surgical scars. And the process also, this started in 2011, it's 2016. He can't get to speak to them again until July of 2017. I would like the process needs to be followed through in a more timely fashion. Okay? And I'm at a loss. I've been to 2 more skin doctors since him, And I've got really bad bite scars on me, and I'm not comfortable.
Mrs. T has a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you a patient of his?
I went there in 1999. I believe it was in September of 99, and I was a patient of his until June of 2011. And also, when you went to Dr. Day, he did, especially if you are a recurring skin cancer patient, he did full body exams on you. He took hair dryers. He blew through your hair. He made sure there wasn't. I've had skin cancer in the top of my head. And he does full body exams. Doctors now in San Antonio will no longer do full body exams on you. And I'm sure that probably no one here knows, but where is the area that melanoma is the fastest growing on women? It's in their vaginal area, and they're never going to see it. And I have to demand, or I have to ask, I'm telling my doctor, I'm taking off my clothes. I want you to do a full body exam on me. And they're like, well, if, you know, and they'll go get other people to come in the room. Because it makes me nervous. I have had skin cancer on numerous places on my body. And I want to be treated right. And this mess of he said, she said, cost everyone in San Antonio our doctor.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair Thompson. Members, any other questions for Dee Altschuler? Chair sees none.
For your time today.
Brady, thanks for being here, for taking an interest, and we would all encourage you to take an interest in this process in any respect. Members, any questions for Brandy? Great. Thank you very much, Brandy. John Nealon, if it's your name, who you represent for Alice Shirley, Carol Lake, Lori Bluestein, and Jan A. Lake. Why no, that's not Mary Alice. Thank you all for joining us. Mary Alice Shirley from Robstown, Texas. I'm assuming that's not you, sir.
We have the lakes here.
Okay. So I've got in front of me then Carol Lake and Jan Lake, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Since I have the Carol first, Carol, state your name, who you represent for the record, and can begin your testimony.
All right. My name is Carol Lake. I represent Dr. Day, myself, and all of the people that ended up like I am because Dr. Day's license was bull, and he treated me for a number of years. I never had a problem. Y'all come, or not y'all, but they come and pull his license without notice, and I have to go find another one. And he had been treating me for a cancer called squamous cell. And I went to the other doctors, and I had a ridge up here that was getting bigger and bigger, and I said, we need to do something about that. And the doctor said, well, no, it's just a little swelling. Well, it turned out to be, the bottom line is that I've had 2 surgeries, 8 hours each. They took out part of my skull, and then they took 54 what is called lymph nodes. My shoulder, I have no strength, and I had to go back 2 weeks ago. I don't have eyesight in this eye. They had to go in my inner ear, and I lay all the credit on that to the board, because that just wasn't right. It's not right. And I can't hardly walk. I lost my balance. And I've known Dr. Day. We actually played football against one another. He lived in Carson City and I lived in Kennedy. And he's impeccable. His family is too. And this gentleman needs to break for himself, but us patients also need it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Mrs. Lake, Jan Lake, you can state your name, who you represent for the record, it can be in your testimony.
I'm Jan Lake. I am from Hobson, Texas, which is outside of Kennedy, and I am here for Dr. Day, my husband, the 14,000 people who were left without Dr. Day because they took his license away from him without just cause. I mean, there was no proof that any of that was true. If so, they could have had somebody accommodate, him not being left alone with the patient. There's other things to do besides, he left him, he had taken a squamous from up here, Dr. Day had, and one here, so he knew if something showed up, you have to get to it right away. With him, he had to go to a new doctor. The new doctor saw the swelling behind the ear, said it's infection, so she gave him antibiotics. He went home. Antibiotics is gone, the swelling kept coming up, so he went back to her. Oh, we'll just give you some more antibiotics. We went through it again. It didn't work. Finally, she sent him to have one needle biopsy done on the side to see what would come. And she says it came out clear. Well, then he knew something was up because Dr. Day had told him this needs to be handled. If you see something, it's got to be taken care of. So he got them to send him to another doctor, and God was in charge of this because we went straight to a Dr. Kruger, and we walked into his store. He went without me because I wasn't at home at the time he got the appointment. The doctor looked at him and said, "You've got cancer," without even testing it, and said, "You have to be fast-tracked." And within a week, they had him in surgery, 7.5, 8-hour surgery. The two doctors, Dr. Hales, who was a oncologist, took care of it. Yeah, he did everything, and then Dr. Kruger did the bone surgery, and he came out and said, "Your husband has a hard head." And I knew that early on. It took him 2 hours to get what he needed out of there, and then he had to recently have it done again because that is growing so fast because it wasn't caught. And so we're hoping the new thing with cancer now that they've okayed for squamous is something that's starting to work for melanoma. We're hoping we can get him into that study. On that is about the only way we have to suffice it. But I was also a patient of Dr. Day's, and he gave me a full body scan. I was embarrassed, but he said, "I have to do this." We had nurses in there with him and me. He did the body scan. I closed my eyes while he was doing it. But I felt secure, and I was blessed. I don't have cancer. I have some spots you want to keep an eye on.
Thank you, Mrs. Day. Members, any questions for Mrs. Lake? Calls. Jimmy Steidinger, a farmer rancher from Dripping Springs, and Greg Myers, an attorney from Houston, representing the Texas Medical Liability Trust. Mr. Steidinger and Mr. Myers. Mr. Steidinger, when you're ready, state your name and who you represent for the record, and the time will begin your 3-minute testimony.
I'm just a farmer. Jimmy Steidinger is my name. But I had a doctor, Dr. Day, which he'll be testified. They took his license away from him, and it was all, this woman claimed that she had sex with him, and he, violated her rights and all this. and he finally got a clean bill of health. She'd been suing people to do things, but he lost his license. And now it's all past him, and he's wanting to do work again. And he's one of the best dermatologists in the country. I had a melanoma on my back. Now, where I go to the doctor, I go to Dr. Cooper, Cooper Clinic in Dallas. They specialize. They do good physical. They've saved my life 2 times. And both of them were cancers. One of them was melanoma, another one was a kidney cancer. It was a tumor. But the thing that I liked about Dr. Day was when I went to Cooper Clinic, Dr. McFarland said, you need to get that mole off your back. So I go back to San Antonio. He said, whatever you do, get it removed. So I went back to the dermatologist, which I thought was a good dermatologist, find out he wasn't. He said, well, I can't do it today. I said, well, I'm from the Rio Grande Valley. He said, well, you'll just have to come back up. So I'll go back up on a Monday or Tuesday, and he cuts it out, and he calls me Wednesday or Thursday and says, it's melanoma, you need to get up here right away. So I called Jerry Skelsey to do research work on the valley down there on plants, and I asked him who was the 2 best dermatologists in the country in Texas, and he said Dr. Day in San Antonio and another one in Dallas. Well, I didn't want to drive all the way up to Dallas, so I took Dr. Day. And what I found out, even going to him all the time, he had a lot of people from the valley coming up there. I was surprised. One of them said, is that you, Jimmy? I said, I don't know of any 2 Steinagers. And he's a fantastic dermatologist, and he needs to get his license and get to practicing again. That's the main thing. I just can't believe what has happened to a man. He's serviced over 40,000 people. And to be treated like that is just unridiculous. I'm a businessman. I got land in the valley. I've got a ranch out by Dripping Springs. And I come up to testify on his behalf all the way up because I think so much about him.
Well, we appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
That does say a lot about him that you would come up here. Members, the card actually says Jimmy Steininger, and it says representing Dr. Day. And that's exactly what you do. Mr. Hollingsworth, state your name and who you represent for the record, and you can begin.
Okay. My name is Cecil Hollingsworth. I live in Cedar Park, Texas. I've been a patient of Dr. Calvin Day's for 10 or 12 years, other than the last 5.5 or 6 years since his license has been taken. And, I've heard a lot of complaints. We need to do things this way and that way, and all I've got here is praise that I can say about my experience at Dr. Day's office. Has always been, it was always the best service that I've found. And before I met Dr. Day and after his license had been suspended, I've been through 4 or 5 other dermatologists, and there's nothing that I could say that I could brag about any of them. They got different techniques. They do things different ways, but it is hard to find a good doctor. And if you have good doctors, you yourself, it's just like pulling teeth to have to go find another doctor. But I can't say enough about the service that I've received there and how he's taken care of the skin cancer problems that I've had. And I grew up on the coast, and back in 1950, we just didn't know better, and I just got too much sun. But I've always enjoyed being there. I say one thing: the reception room was always interesting there because you always met somebody from out of state and even out of the country. So the reputation for quality care travels a long ways. I mean, the other things that already
1 minute.
Okay. The other things is kind of how this affected me, and I guess in a way, not having your doctor that is very familiar with everything that you've had go wrong with you. I've had probably at least over 100 skin cancers removed surgically, and a lot of them burned off or frozen or whatever you call it. I just had a ton of them. And by losing my doctor, by his license being suspended, you know, I have a hard time going to other doctors and getting the same service. And, you know, I am kind of picky. I want things done a certain way, and once you've dealt with the best, you just ain't happy until you find another doctor that's that good. I've been through 4 of them in the last 2.5, 3 years. I haven't found one yet that's close.
Thank you, Mr. Hollingsworth. So relation to Esther Hollingsworth, share her name and address. And Esther's not here?
She is, but I don't think she meant to check it.
That's right. Resource only, I got it. Thank you very much. Okay. Members, Esther Hollingsworth is here representing herself as resource if we need her. Members, any questions for Mr. or Mrs. Hollingsworth? Great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Donna Brown, and I'm here to support Dr. Day and just let you know that our community in San Antonio really needs him back. In my opinion, he's the best dermatologist in San Antonio. When I was 11, I developed a keloid on the side of my face, which is an overgrowth of scar tissue. It was large and unsightly. General surgeons would not remove it for good reason, and it had been unsuccessfully treated with steroid injections and creams. In 1985, at the age of 17, I was referred to Dr. Day, and my life changed forever because he successfully removed it. I did require 2 additional surgical procedures in 1990 and again in 2000 because, as keloids do, it started to come back. Dr. Day performed my surgery in 2000, and 16 years later, I have nothing. I have developed a keloid on the back of my thigh. Then, about 5 years ago, before all this happened, Dr. Day evaluated it, and he said it would not respond to steroid injections and recommended a laser therapy, which he found great success treating keloids with. Unfortunately, due to his suspension, I was not able to get my keloid treated, and it has increased in size and is extremely painful. I've seen 2 other dermatologists in San Antonio who have unsuccessfully treated it with steroid injections and cream. But Dr. Day is the only one who could successfully treat keloids in San Antonio, in my opinion.
Great. Donna, thank you very much for being here testifying. Members, any questions for Donna C. Brown of San Antonio? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You can begin your testimony when you're ready.
Good afternoon. I'm Icy Donnelly, and I am a numerous melanoma survivor because of Dr. Day. By the actions and lack of warning and consideration of the board, the similarity dictated my life by removing the doctor whom saved my life and ensured that I could have a healthy life. Just please consider, because I was very young when I started my melanomas, and he saved my life. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Sorry.
Thank you.
That was too quick. No. Members, any questions for IC? Chair is none. Thank you all very much for coming.
And thank you for letting us be here today. I am Brenda Fox from Corpus Christi. I am representing Dr. Day. He's the best that I've ever seen. I've been familiar with some other works of other doctors. I've seen patients walk around with bandages, and we get into discussion, and they tell me what doctor they went to, and it's just very, very poor work from what I've seen in comparison of what Dr. Day has done. I've got about 10 or 12 places on my face that Dr. Day has done. Dr. Day, there was wrongdoing to Dr. Day, and from what I understand, his medical license was taken away from him without due process, without any warning, without any way to defend himself or defend his patients. He did not leave his patients that day when he when his license was taken away from him. The medical board made his patients have to go elsewhere, even in that very day that he got his license suspended. They had to go elsewhere. They couldn't keep the doctor they chose. And that was very detrimental to them. And much has been said. I'm a little lost for words. There's been so much said. And I'm with every one of them that have represented Dr. Day, including Dr. Day in his statement today. I think he did a fine job, and we need him back on there, and I think somebody needs to work with that board. I don't know why it exists for all the wrongdoing that I've heard today watching on the telecast. I thank you for your time. I think that's about it.
Members, any questions?
Hi, my name is Edna Ortega, and I represent Dr. Day. I worked for him for 12 years as a file clerk. When I lost my job, it really caused a lot of anxiety and stuff for me because I was the single mom taking care of my kids. And when I lost my job, I really lost everything I had gained from this job because, I lost my job. Then after a while, I fell behind on my mortgage, my bills, lost my car. So it wasn't the same for my household. It's been hard to find a job because I didn't have a GED. Dr. Day gave me an opportunity with this job. And I showed him that I could do the job. So that's why I was with him for 12 years. And to just all of a sudden lose this job, it really took a toll on me and my family. So that's why I'm here to let you all know of that situation. And also that, they shouldn't allow officers or investigators just walk into a doctor's office and just take him out of there knowing that he has patients in the office. That was really harmful for the patients to just have him removed without him being able to finish the day at least and let the patients know that this is going on. So we could cancel the rest of the appointments for the week or, let them know this is happening. You're not going to see him for a while, So for him not to have his license, it's really took a lot of toll on patients that I've heard their stories. And that shouldn't have been done to him like that. Or to us. We were 28 of us that lost our jobs. And most of us, are single parents that we lost our jobs like that. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Linda, very much. Members, any questions for Linda Ortega from San Antonio? Chair sees none. Ruby Tovar, if you'll state your name and who you represent for the record, you can begin your testimony.
Good afternoon, members and Chair. I'm Ruby Tovar from San Antonio, and I'm representing Dr. Day. And I am in complete agreement with our group. Ms. Altschuler, she made a good point, and so did Linda. The day that they came in and just suspended his license, the way they walked in was horrible. And it was very dangerous to our patients because a lot of our patients are older. You can't just come in and have your gun hanging out without warning and pull this doctor in front of them in cuffs while he has, I'm really nervous, patients in surgery. I'm sorry. Lots of us lost our jobs, 28 of us. Patients in danger, and I don't think that he should have been removed that way. Everybody's innocent unless you're proven guilty. Sorry. This did touch really close to home for me because, Dr. Day helped my mom. She had cancer as well. Like Linda said, I'm a single mom. I was taking care of my kids on my own. I was homeless after that for a while. Watching him with his patients has encouraged me to go back to school. I'm actually going to school for nursing. I think that he's an inspiration, and I think that his level of care and quality of care is beneficial to lots of people in Texas, and as well as out of the state. We've seen people from Mexico, New Mexico, California, all over Texas. I think that the process taken should be different. I think that if someone is going to have their license suspended, they should at least have some time to prepare their patients, to help them find a better doctor, a doctor that's not going to botch surgeries, somebody that he can confide in, give his employees time to look for a job, set things in order in a timely fashion, not just be yanked from surgery when you have patients pending on the surgery table. It leaves scars, it leaves worry, it leaves anxiety, like Linda said. It's just, they should do it in the proper manner. That's all I have to say. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Lar. Members, any questions for Mr. Lar? Yes, sir. Senator Hinojosa.
I don't have a question, Mr. Chairman. I just have an inquiry.
What's interesting? Okay. Ms. Brown. We are then to Brandy Holden.
Hello, my name is Brandy Holden, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I will try not to be repetitive. I just wanted to continue and show my support since I was already on deck when you mentioned that. I just want to firstly mention that Dr. Day's son committed suicide, possibly over this whole ordeal, and that on top of his case being drug out and him being treated unfairly, just to me is too much. Let me skip over all the things that you all know now. License suspended suddenly, and we didn't have jobs. Patients were in the middle of receiving care with open bleeding wounds. When the police showed up, they barged into the rooms and arrested him in front of the patients. They were acting like he was resisting, which he wasn't. And I know that doesn't pertain to you all. I just wanted to mention that. And 6 years is a long time to not be able to practice when you are falsely accused. Some of us have found decent replacement jobs, others have not. We'd all like our job back. Once again, sorry. So since he's been exonerated, the injustice of the suspension has truly come to light for me. And today I've learned a lot as well. I'm encouraged to be more proactive in things like this in the future. And I just recommend that the temporary suspension without due process is lifted, and proposing that when a license is under investigation, maybe the patients and employees could be informed so that they have the choice to continue or not. And this would allow, this would protect the public from harm rather than causing harm, such as what has been done by suspending the license without due process. So I as well plead that you consider overhauling the Texas Medical Board to protect the public from harm. This includes all realms of healthcare for fairness and justice. Thank you.